Hello, everybody. We are back, and I am thrilled today to have with me my sister, I'll say partner, sister in crime, Ginger Raya. So thank you so much, girlie, for being on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
It took too long, but now that you're feeling better, I'm thrilled to have you.
Yeah, I'm a recovering hypo, so happy to be back. Happy to be here.
I love the fact that, and I share this, how you meet different people, right? So like how different people come into your life. And so I love to share each guest, how I met them or who introduced me to them or who said, oh my God, you have to have this person on. And so with you, I wanted to share the story of, you know, we were both kind of healthcare people and crossed paths many times and knew of each other, but had never really sat down and met. And I think so often that's what happens. You know of somebody, but you don't know them. And so I had just recently published my book and kind of blown up my life on many different levels, and went to Executive Forum's annual, you know, new member kind of announcement orientation fun dinner thing at the Plaza.
Yeah.
And ended up seated at your table.
Yes.
And unbeknownst to me, that happened, and we struck up a conversation. And I love the fact, one of my 5 pillars that I talk about is how important and critical it is for real women to support and be there for and with other real women.
Right.
And not just when it's convenient and not just when it's popular and not when they're holding on to your coattails because you're doing well, but when they're not,
right,
and when they really need that. And so you're my hero because that day, I don't subscribe to people that are superficial. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And the fact that that day, that night, we had a real conversation about real stuff.
Right.
Your energy was on, and I just loved that. And I saw so many similarities in our paths. But what I loved is the fact that you asked me about coming on your podcast.
Right.
And I remember looking at you and I was like, so did you know that I was let go? And did you know that this book? And did you know? And you were looking at me and nodding and saying, yeah, I want to have you on.
Right.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I remember you had been posting about your book, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And actually, I was looking for people to come out on my podcast. So I was like, oh, you should come out on my podcast. Yeah. So I was really happy to, you know, that we had intersected at that time and that you were able to get on my podcast. And actually, your episode, I think it was the CEO's Journey, is the most viewed episode of my podcast.
That's so much fun.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. How cool is that?
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. We should link it so people can figure it out and find your stuff too.
Yeah, that would be great.
That. I think for me, that was the first real conversation. And not real like this, like I'm doing now, but it was the first time that Allie CEO was just Allie. And the freedom that came with that, in talking about kind of the state of healthcare and the state of healthcare leadership and the state of, you know, leadership in general in the world. And having the freedom to speak about that. And so I listened to it myself. I don't like to listen to anything with my voice. I tell them the audiobook, I'm like, good luck. If you can listen to me for that long, God love you. But I watched that one. I watched myself on your podcast because I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to hear and I was like, oh my gosh, I said that. Oh, wow.
There are so many triggering things that you and I talked about on that episode. And as someone who works with emerging leaders and mid-career and executive leaders and women, there's so many things that you said, you know, again, working with nurses and, you know, people that just don't think that they have the capacity to lead or that have a lot of self-doubt. You said so many things that I will tell people, I'm like, you need to hear, you know, Trimble-Lozano's episode. You know, you're an emerging nurse leader. You need to go back and listen to her. So I will frequently send people and they're like, oh my God, I need to go back. And so I send people all the time to listen to that episode.
Well, my whole goal, and you know this, but for anybody that doesn't, I've said, you know, I talk a lot about the 5 pillars I have, but my main goal when I decided even just to publish the book, I mean, I knew there may be ramifications, didn't expect what happened to happen, but it did. But I felt like if I can share my stories,
Right.
And what's funny is it was so real and raw and vulnerable, I was floored that I put that in writing to share with people.
Right.
Book 2 that I'm working on is that on crack, so buckle up. But what I said when I made the decision to publish was that if one woman listens to this or reads this book and finds some nuggets of wisdom, but feels a little less crazy and a little less alone, mission accomplished.
Right.
And I think it kind of aligns so well with kind of the path I'm on and the path I've chosen and a lot of the work that you do. Because I've said numerous times now, I would have given anything to have known you the way I know you now then. Because I would have been the first person to sign up and be like, I need your wisdom. I need your coaching. I need somebody outside of this chaos to take a look at it. Because some of those conversations are, I think maybe this is a you problem, but let me help you navigate and figure out how to improve what's holding you back. Sometimes it is the person that comes to us for coaching advice. And that's a delicate conversation, right? But sometimes it's not. And I think as women, we tend to be the people that go, it's got to be me. What am I doing wrong? How come I can't climb? Or how come they have this opinion of me, or what is it?
Absolutely.
And I didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't have that.
Right.
And so I think trying to look at my path via the podcast, I'm starting a YouTube show.
Awesome.
So, and it's going to be called Real Leadership, No Bullshit. And so very, very on brand, very Allie, but really talking about those tough things.
Awesome.
And so being asked to come and speak to different, there's a doctoral group that asked me to come in and talk to their group of students. I think it's next month in February.
Awesome.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
But it really is imparting knowledge, imparting experience, lived experience.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about kind of I know the coaching piece. So talk to me about what you do, who you help, how that goes, and what kind of drew you to that? Because you do so many different things. I joke with you that this is part of my full-time job. You do a podcast that's one of your 37 full-time jobs. Right.
So originally I started career coaching because I've been teaching now in some capacity, primarily as adjunct faculty for the last 16 years. But I had started career coaching because a lot of the students that I had met over the years had started a healthcare degree. And when I meet students, they start a healthcare degree because they have this idea that they want to be a hospital CEO or they want to be, a director in healthcare or whatever. And that's great, great, love it. And when you meet them, you're like, great, so what's part of the plan? And they're like, well, I want to get this healthcare degree. And I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Then what?
But what, like, are you in a healthcare system right now? And they're like, no, never spent a day in my life in a healthcare system. And I'm like, but
yeah.
So are you?
Yeah. Connect the dots for me, please.
Interning, or you have like what?
Yeah.
I mean, other
a
than
line
being
takes 2 dots.
other
I've got
than being
one.
a patient, like.
What's
you
the
were
plan?
born in a hospital. What else are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's it. This degree. And I'm
That's
like,
my plan.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So
I
felt,
had a boss, I shit you not, I had a boss at one point who literally went to med school to become a doctor because he thought you had to be a doctor to be a hospital CEO.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even joking.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
Along those
totally
lines.
understand. Yeah.
So I felt like, what else could I do to help them other than, be in healthcare and be an instructor for them. So I thought I'm going to go be a certified career coach and try to help them navigate this. Okay. Because a lot of people that I've met over the years, people think it's my resume. Yeah. My resume is the problem. And I'm like, yeah, it's a problem, but it's not the problem. And you look at people's resumes and it's always the same thing where it's like, it's my job description. And I'm like, nobody wants to see your job description, right?
Who are you and what do you bring to the table?
Or like you look at their LinkedIn and it's, they've got 10 connections and it's like a job description. And I'm like, oh my God, no. Yeah. So I got certified as a career coach. And for a long time, I thought, that will be my full-time job. I'll be a career coach. But I quickly decided that was not also a great idea. I mean, I like being a coach, right? In moderation.
Yeah.
But I could not do
full-time,
that full time.
24/7.
No, there's no way. So I do the coaching. I do a lot of curriculum development around that because people do need a lot of training around that. I do, surprisingly, I got a lot of requests for professionalism.
Got it. Yeah.
Curriculum development and a lot of training. There's a lot of people
There's a gap.
which I was a little surprised about that people are like, well, we need professionalism from like emerging, like, people don't know how to talk to each other. And I kind of feel like that's generational.
It is.
So,
And I think it's getting worse. I think the next group of those, and I'll include like AJ in there, my son. I think the next group that were raised and a big chunk of their either middle school or high school years were COVID.
Yeah.
I think we're in trouble because we were already missing some
Yeah.
of that communication piece, some of the real connection.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing interviews. I would be
Yeah.
interviewing somebody for a big role. Like
Yeah.
I'm looking to hire you as my ER director,
Yeah.
or I'm looking to bring you in as my hospital administrator.
Yeah.
And you can't make eye contact during a conversation.
goodness.
No.
yeah. So now a lot of the coaching that I do is I will screen people when people reach out to me. I'm like, look, what do you need?
Yeah.
Right? What do you need? So I'll set up time with them, and I'm not interested in like just setting up time and meeting with people every week or I'm not a therapist.
Right.
If you need a therapist,
go
I got
get that.
a great referral
Yeah.
for you. I'll send you to tons of people. That's not what I'm into. If you have a problem that you need help with as a career coach, I'm very happy to meet with you. And what I tell people is I'm not interested in taking your money in that sense. People don't pay me to slap them on the back and tell them they can do it. People pay me to slap them on the back, tell them you can do it with evidence-based
And this is how.
solutions.
Yeah.
Right? If I've had people come to me and say, hey, I want this role. This is what I want. I'm struggling. And I'm like, great, let's look at everything. We'll look at your trajectory. I will provide you with evidence-based solutions that you and I can talk through, and we can analyze how you can get there. The other thing with being a career coach that I find is, and I'm not trying to make light of it or joke about it, but I will frequently say that I feel like it's a comparison to that Bruce Willis movie where he's a ghost. What is it called? This is my perimenopause.
No, you're funny. I can see it.
Where
Yes.
when you're a coach, you can't tell people they're a ghost,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Like you have to talk them through it, ask them questions,
let them realize
and
it.
let them
Come to the
realize it.
realization.
Because when I meet people, I'm like, oh, I know what it is, right?
Yeah,
but you
immediately,
can't do
but you
that.
can't do that.
You got to back them into it, and again, give people evidence-based solutions. Say, look at this trajectory. Look at what the research shows, what this scholarly peer-reviewed evidence shows. Let's talk through it. And then they're like, oh, I see it. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
This is why, right?
Yeah,
and then
here's
let's
the
come up
problem.
with a plan.
Yep.
This might take you months. And then, and then when you're done with your solution, good luck. You need me, come back. We'll set up a 1-hour session, follow
Now what
up.
are we talking
and then
about? Yeah.
see you in the sunset. I'll see you on LinkedIn that you're a rock star like I knew you were, and that'll be it.
Yeah. I think that's a big piece of it, is helping other people to see without telling them or giving it to them. Because you can tell them in the first 5 minutes, here's what I see, this is what I would suggest, I think this is what's holding you back. And they'd go, no, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Well, and I love that you say I can refer you to a therapist if that's what you're, because that's a big part of it too.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
I think, we didn't see each other than like waving in the hallway, but we went to a conference last year. And one of the things that I sat in, they were talking about psychological safety. And they were talking about psychological safety in the workplace. And I feel I struggle, right? Because we're of the generation that like suck it up and get it done.
Yeah,
like
take the hit.
It is what it is. Yeah. And that's not the case anymore. And the way that we did it wasn't the right way. And the idea of, we need a safe room on every floor where people can go and have peaceful moments and do that. I don't think that's the answer either. I think it's somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle. But I think, if we don't talk about, and I've shared my opinion of kind of, healthcare being in a bit of trouble, and I worry who's going to be here to take care of you and me, in 50 years when we're old, but who's going to be there to provide those services when we're burning through people,
Right.
And so one of the challenges I have currently is people that are coming to me, and I'm talking real young, not for coaching, just in life in general, that are like,
Right.
yeah, I don't really know what I want to do, or I don't know, because I don't want to go to school for that long,
Right.
or, well, I don't know, and then you get the people, and I feel like there's been a shift in healthcare where, and I blame some of that on COVID and on, the fact that, during COVID, there were contract nurses that were making twice as much as I was as a hospital CEO.
Right.
It wasn't sustainable. We all knew that. But I think that also in part changed who was going to nursing school to a degree.
Right.
And then they didn't get the clinical rotations that they needed because there was no availability of clinical rotations. So now you've got this whole group of nurses that really had no interaction with patients and never had to care for a patient or had the opportunity to care for a patient that are now in the hospitals. And I worry about their longevity,
Right.
and how long they'll last. Will they be able to hang in there long enough for the next group of people that got into it maybe for a better reason
Right.
to come up and get the training they need?
Right.
I don't know. But I think there's a role, or there's a place for that in obviously what you're doing in educating the next generation of leaders, for sure.
Right.
And public health is huge.
Right.
But I think, when we're talking about what the future of healthcare looks like. And so, you and I are members of the same organization, the chapter here that you're president of.
Right.
And, again, so thank you for your service in that.
Yeah.
And I did say, and I complimented, I hope you saw that,
I
about
did.
how much more active this chapter has been since you stepped into that role. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
But where do you feel like where can people like us that have kind of been there, done that, and still doing education and still doing things, where do you feel like we can best serve? What can we do to try to help kind of mold that next group that's coming in, or those that are coming out of school now, for them? And then I guess the bigger piece of that, as leaders, right? So I still go and speak and do things like that. And so what message do you think is missing?
Yeah.
Or that needs to be in there? Do you
So
have thoughts on that?
it's so funny that you say that, because as a matter of fact, yesterday I was talking to a group of women, and this concept comes up that these women are kind of talking to me about how do you talk about something that, like, how do I position myself to talk about something that I've never done before? And we're kind of like kicking the can around and talking about things, and I think for us, we need to continue to model the concept that we have had to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I think that especially either generationally or women that are having to rise in leadership, they don't have that example enough. Like, how do you survive being uncomfortable, and what does that mean? Yeah. And I think for me, as an emerging leader early on in my career in healthcare, we are privileged enough to have development, to have leadership assessments, to have those things, right? And one of the things that I remember struggling with was I had to take something called True Colors. Did you ever? And it used to drive me nuts, because when they give you the true colors, I would always think, and part of it is being like a hypo, and I'd always be like, I'm green because I'm so smart, and and it would always come back blue. And blue always meant that I was a harmonious person, right? I wanted balance.
Peace.
And I hated that.
Yeah. You're like,
I was like,
what?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, but I was like, I'm green, right? And green was always number 2. But what I came to realize about myself and in my leadership discovery was that, yes, I wanted peace and I wanted balance. But the best way to get to peace and balance was to blow everything up. Yeah. Because that's the only way you were going to get to equilibrium.
So true.
And as a woman, frequently I was getting, guess what tasks I was getting, right? Ginger, we need you to float over here because it's broken. Yeah. Go fix it, right? And I know you've been there, right?
Go to that market, it's a disaster. Can you go fix it?
And you're always getting, the crap jobs to fix. So being uncomfortable with, accepting who you are and understanding that those are your strengths, go fix it.
Yeah.
And blowing things up and getting them right and fixing them.
Yeah.
But being that example that, when had they seen you? When had anybody seen someone like you go in, blow everything up, fix it? They never seen that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're like this nurse leader. And it was the same thing for me. When had they seen like this little
Never.
Latina, come in, blow everything up, smile
Yeah.
while she's doing it,
Yeah.
and then be like, oh, give her something else, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep giving her stuff.
Yeah.
So being comfortable with being uncomfortable, naming it, saying it. And I think being that example, because once I was talking to these women and I was being like, and I happen to know this woman, I'm like, you're a baddie, like,
What are you talking
what are you
about?
talking about? Like, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
And then I'll like spin it.
Yeah.
I have a minor in creative writing. Like, let me,
I got this.
Let me
Yeah.
juice it up for you. And if not, we'll put it in AI
Yeah.
and we'll make
And
it
they'll help me.
30
Yeah.
times better. So I still think it's that, like, being comfortable with being uncomfortable and then setting that example for everybody else and just
Yeah.
amplifying it.
Well, and I think I love that because I think, and I've said this before even on here, but where people want everything to be calm and peaceful and everything just flow
Me
and
too.
it's good. And yeah, same, except that's not where growth happens. It's not where improvement happens.
Nope.
And there's going to be a dip before the rise. And, being asked to go in, I remember I did. I had some ideas that, even in my own brain sounded like, that's big.
Yeah.
But I knew somewhere, gut, instinct, heart, I don't know. But I knew somewhere that's the key. That's what we need to do. And I remember a couple of times I sat at a boardroom table with not the CEO I reported to the company president.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. The company president said, why in the world would I sign up to allow you to do that? And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I'll make you a deal. I'll bet my career on it. I said, I am that sure this is the right thing to do that give me the opportunity to fail. And I remember in that moment, or later that day, talking to a friend about it. And I was like, I don't know where that came from. Like it literally, I said, give me the opportunity to fail. And I thought, man alive, have I changed?
Yeah.
Because 5 years before that, I would have just never even said the idea out loud that I thought sounded a little dramatic in my head. But the realization that sometimes in life, the best intentions start out and a company starts out and everything's plugging along and whatever, but somewhere along the lines, things get so far from what the goal was or what the desired outcome is, that you can't tweak it back to good. You got to blow shit up.
Right.
And I think it takes courageous leadership to be the person to say the only way to what you're trying to get to is through all of this.
Right.
And the only way through all of this is to start over.
And I feel like when you're that high up, sometimes people don't understand the concept of loyal dissent.
Yeah.
Right? That I can absolutely disagree with you and have that still honor and respect your leadership, but trust me also that I have your best interests at heart. There's
If
nothing
you're
wrong
not
with me.
successful as my boss,
Right.
I'm not successful.
Absolutely.
So everything I'm doing is in an effort to help you be successful,
Absolutely.
because that's our role.
That's right.
When you report to someone, and I've said that for years.
That's right.
When you are chosen and given an opportunity in a position to work directly under and for someone else.
Yes.
A big part of your job, your role, is to help them be successful.
Right.
Because if they're successful, then your division or your company or your school or your whatever it is, it crosses all paths, will also be successful. So the piece about, and I love the piece about loyal dissent, because I think it goes hand in hand with the concept, that I speak about a lot, which is weaponized incompetence.
Absolutely.
And there's lots of definitions of weaponized incompetence, and mine, typical of me, is a little bit different. But my experience in it And, you know, I talked about it in the book.
Right.
But for me, weaponized incompetence is when this leader who may or may not have hired you, but often did hire you,
Right.
thought you were the person, you were whatever, you know, praised you, whatever. You get in there and you do have loyal dissent moments.
Right.
Now you're a target.
Right.
Instead of looking at this individual, instead of going, oh my gosh, Ginger,
Thank
that's
you.
a brilliant idea.
Right. Let's try
look
it.
at it.
Or let's try
Or,
it,
hey,
Allie.
Ginger, I don't think so. Or like that company president telling me, why in the world would I let you
Right.
do that? But
Right.
you know what? He did.
Awesome.
And it worked.
Right.
And so, and it bought credence, right?
Right.
Because then it was like, oh, shoot. Okay.
Right.
And then I started getting more asks and whatever. But I think there's a balance.
Right.
And I think when you have leaders that are not their self-worth, there's a problem, or their confidence is lacking,
Right.
or we all suffer from imposter syndrome. I told you, I can't
Right.
tell you how many times I sat in a room going, how in the hell am I
Me
in this
too.
room? But there's a choice there.
Right.
And I think the choice in that moment is, okay, I'm going to recognize that about myself,
Right.
and I'm going to refuse to see that this is a threat.
Right.
I'm going to make sure that I listen,
Right.
that I don't jump to conclusions and jump to judgment, and let it at least sit with it for a little bit. And I think when we make that choice, that's the ultimate leader, because now your people are going to come to you and say, hey, I think this is not a good idea.
Right.
And I know you're passionate about it, and I know you think this and
Right.
this, but I'm really nervous, Allie, because I see these other things.
Right.
If they don't feel comfortable, they're going to say shit.
Right.
And you're going to roll that
Right.
out, and it's going to be a disaster.
But you're right. The latter, at least talking through their reservations with you would have been respectable.
Yeah. And I think when you end up with weaponized, incompetent bosses that don't recognize loyal dissent as
Right.
a gift.
Right.
And I always say, I mean, don't go undermine your boss in a room
Right.
full of other
Absolutely
people.
not.
Don't,
Absolutely
you know, whatever.
Right.
You have to be reasonable about
Right.
it. But I
Right.
think when it's a true leader,
Right.
not a manager, a
Right.
leader,
Right.
who listens to their people. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my team came to me and said, hey, we don't think this was such a great idea. What if we did this and this? And I'm like, that's a way better idea.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Well, they would have never been comfortable doing that if they thought I was the person that was
Right.
going to now target them because you're better than
How
me,
dare
you're
you.
smarter than me, or
Right.
who do you think you
Right. Absolutely.
are? And I think I love that you acknowledge that. I love, and you're skilled at going at it from the positive with the, you know, just, I mean, even what you talk about. And I tend to go at it just from personal experience and what I've navigated from the negative. But I think those two components are critical.
Right.
Are critical. And I think there's not a whole lot of that going on, one, with normal, you know, leadership, business education.
Playing it safe.
Yeah. And I think sitting in that lecture last year about psychological safety, and it had only been a few months for me since everything went down. And I was sitting there and I was like, this isn't complicated.
Right.
Like, this is not written by Albert Einstein,
Right.
and you can't decipher it.
Yeah.
The basic premises, you know, respect first, always be respectful.
Right.
I mean, none of this, but it's like you talking about one of the things you're asked for right now is training on
Professionalism.
professionalism. I mean, I think we have gotten to where, as a society, we focus so much on the top tier,
Right.
that we forget the
About
foundational.
everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a problem.
It is. Well, I remember I worked for one organization. I actually really liked it. They called the home office was I think they called it the market support team or regional support team or something like that. So
Okay.
the individuals that worked at corporate, I mean, the name, because you say corporate and everybody goes, ew,
Yeah.
corporate's in town or
Yeah.
whatever. So nobody wants that, right? But I also feel like a lot of corporate behave that way.
Right.
And so that's why it's got that negative connotation or association. But I think sitting through some of those, that one class in particular, that one lecture in particular on psychological safety, and it was
Right.
neat because it was an adjunct of multiple professionals from different healthcare systems. And I was like, which shows you it's not a one spot problem. It's
Right.
not a one person problem. You know, we've got fewer and fewer people choosing to rise through the ranks of healthcare.
Right.
And so as that's happening, it's kind of putting those that are in those positions.
Right.
It's tougher because now you're looking around the room for anybody else that might be willing to loyally dissent with you.
Right.
And they're not. They're,
Well, I'm glad that was at the forefront.
yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully people are getting the message.
Me too. And it was, I mean, there were several on that, and
Yeah.
they were very valuable lectures, I thought. So
Yeah.
I'm sad I don't get to go this year,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Maybe next year.
Maybe things will change.
I know.
Before then.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Right.
So you do the coaching.
Right.
And I love your approach as far as bring me a problem.
Right.
Or bring me one of the things that, that I started doing with people is because it was a question that I failed to ask myself.
Okay.
And I laugh because now I sing it. Should I stay or should I go now? But I think that's the first and foremost, right?
Okay.
Like I talk about, are you even on the right bus? So when you are coaching somebody and they come to you, you know, with that specific question, like,
Right.
I don't even know if I'm in the right organization. I don't know if I'm in the right career path.
Right.
I don't know if I'm, you know, whatever. To your point, there's a lot of people in leadership in healthcare whose background isn't healthcare.
Right.
So, I mean, they may come and say, I don't know if healthcare is for me.
Right.
Like, what are some thoughts you have around kind of navigating that conversation or helping somebody? Because again, I love it because you look at it from a totally different lens.
Right.
But what are some things that you would think come to mind when somebody asks you, like, should I stay or should I go?
So there are some preliminary assessments that I force people to take, you know, and it is like strength finders and some skill matching assessments,
Sure.
no matter whether you're tenured or emerging.
Perfect.
That force people to analyze
Themselves.
Yes. And like the skill matcher will tell you things like, oh, you'd be great in education, or you'd be great in accounting, or you'd be great in interior design, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that forces people to kind of reflect. And if you're in healthcare, I mean, healthcare is so broad that you could be in anything,
Yeah.
right? You could be
well,
in
you could be any of
anything.
those things that you just named.
In
You could be an
healthcare.
interior designer for healthcare.
Right.
Yeah.
In healthcare. So sometimes when people look at that, they're like, oh, well, I am really good at X, you know, maybe I should do this in healthcare. And I'm like, yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah.
So I feel like that level sets a lot of things. The other thing is that I ask them questions like, if fear and money and your obligations had no consideration and no bearing on your future, what would you do?
Yeah.
Like, you know, no worry about anything. What would you do? And that question is also very telling to what people would really do. Because sometimes it has nothing to do with healthcare.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. And so we kind of talk through all of those things. And so the discussion does come. And sometimes people know, like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I want out.
Yeah.
But then sometimes people are so committed, which is admirable. They're so committed to the mission, to what this, healthcare system is doing, or they love the work so much that they're just, they don't want to. Right. And I see it. I'm like, you need to go.
Yeah.
You need to go. You can come back.
Yeah.
You can come back when you get the experience that you need to fill this gap. And I'll kind of try to talk them through it and leave it there as an option for them later. But again, they have to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny because I mean, you knew that when everything happened, I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a year.
Yeah.
Like I need a year
Yeah.
to figure out, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Like what's next?
Yeah.
And typical me, like, I mean, that's still a work in progress
Right.
because there's so many things that I wouldn't trade the experiences that I had.
Right.
I really, really wouldn't
Yeah.
for anything.
Yeah. You've grown.
Oh my God. And I mean, the ability to do what I did in multiple markets, and not to have to ever move, right? Like to be able to stay here and rise through the ranks to the level of hospital CEO was a gift because most people don't do that. They have to leave El Paso, they have to move and then maybe come back, whatever. So incredibly grateful for that. And I think the piece of what you just said about, I was so programmed into, I went to nursing school because that's what I wanted to do. You talked earlier about how people go into healthcare thinking, oh, I have to do this to get there. I had no inclination of being a leader.
Yeah.
I didn't have any inclination of going into the business side of things at all. Like I was going to be a nurse. And I started in nursing and then really realized I fell in love with the operations side of things.
Yeah.
And how can we see patients faster? And how can we improve care? And how can we deliver better experience? And how, like, I loved all of the mechanics behind it. And so that's what ended up driving me. But then as I made positive impact and made some good decisions and was blessed with network, contacts and people, I mean, opportunities came.
Yeah.
And I always laughed that, and I would say always that I knew my time somewhere was coming to a close when my gut was like, yeah, this isn't it anymore. Like, I mean, I'm being asked to do stuff I don't want to do. Didn't
feel right.
It's just, it's not where I'm supposed to be. Right. Somebody would call, something would go plop in my lap, something would happen.
Right.
And so I think this last time I had bought into mission vision, not of an organization, but of an idea.
Right.
And for me, kind of the future of healthcare. And I really thought where I was making a difference and was kind of on the path of where healthcare is headed. And so I hung in and I stayed a lot longer probably than I know than I wanted to and probably than I should have. But the question that you pose to your people is the question I posed to myself when I was no longer there, which was, okay, I can sustain myself. Like I have some other things and, whatever you call them, other pokers in the fire or whatever. So I can take care of AJ and I for a bit. Like, what do I want to do? And I think working with other people that are going through some of what I experienced, from a bird's eye view, like that gets my juices flowing. When I'm working with somebody that's like, okay, these are the things that are going on. These are the things I'm trying to implement. This is where I want to go. To be able to look at that non-emotionally, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't impact me. It's fun. And so it's like solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
And so that piece, I think, realizing I had a love for writing that, I mean, you have a minor in it. I certainly did not, which is why yours would sound way different than mine. But I think finding your passion too. And I think we all, there's the whole thing about you got to love what you do or you're going to hate every day. No. Bullshit. It doesn't work that way.
You're right.
And you can love what you do and have some real tough shit days.
Right.
But I think finding what you are passionate about, what you feel like your purpose is.
Absolutely. Has to be both.
It does. It does, because otherwise, one, there's no future in it.
Right.
And two, like, who wants to spend their whole life doing something that they don't care about because they have a big title and a lot of money?
That's right.
That just wasn't.
I agree.
Not for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I guess, one of the things that I ask, or I have started asking my guests when they come on, is a lot. Kind of selfishly, I love hearing about it. But for me, there's a lot of lessons actually, and beliefs that I think, and especially as women, we carry around, I guess, beliefs that have either been taught to us or projected to us or that we grew up with or that we thought, whatever, whether it's spiritually or organizationally or in your own personal mission. So I love asking guests, like, I talk about Allie OG and Allie 2.0, and I actually did an episode on it. And I look at myself at different points in my life.
Okay.
Then, and then now. And what do I like better about me then maybe than I do now and vice versa.
Okay.
And so I like to ask my guests, what is one belief or ideal, whatever, that you had to either work through or let go of entirely in order to be the Ginger you are now? I know it's kind of a loaded question.
What is one belief I had to let go of? I definitely think a belief that I had to let go of is that maybe that I didn't belong or that I didn't. And to your point, I definitely have imposter syndrome, right?
Same.
So having to actively work through that every day. I think anytime anybody asks me to do something, right? To Ginger, can you do this training? Can you come speak at this event? My immediate gut reaction is always in my mind. I always think, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You're not good enough to do that.
Yeah.
So, and that has always been a part of my career, that when something comes up and it's like, can you do this? I always want to say, no, you can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I've had to actively train myself to pause just for a second. And maybe it's not a good idea, but I'm always like, yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right. And then I have to freak out and figure out, like, what did I say?
What
did I say yes to? Right. Oh my God. What did I? Right. And then, strategically think, like, how am I going to do this? What did I?
And how do I deliver it at my caliber?
Yeah. And what do I, and then also think, like, wait, is that realistic? Or should I say, absolutely, I would love to do it. Let me think about, what can I commit to without, and of course being strategic and saying those things. So I think always believing that I absolutely deserve what I've earned, what I've achieved. I have a seat at the table all the time. There's absolutely no one and nothing that is going to keep me from my goals. I was going to mention earlier that I have come to appreciate being underestimated.
Oh, it's huge.
Whenever somebody, and I can see it, right? You can see it when you walk in a room
100%.
or when you're at the table and people are like, that's cute. And I'm like, I'm going to get you. Right?
I have
going to get you.
A dear friend that gave me, she was one of my band moms. She's the mother of a set of triplets here. And she and her husband were basically my stand-in parents in high school, because my were busy and had other things going on and couldn't be there. And they were always there because they had 3 kids in the band. So they adopted me. And a few years ago, it was before everything kind of blew up, but she knows me well enough. And I had told her, I'm like, I'm struggling. Like, I feel like everybody looks at me and goes, oh my God, like, you've built this thing and, like, look at what you've done and you're at the top of this. And I said, and I'm completely and totally unfulfilled. And I said, and so what it looks like from the out, and I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't want to sit here and say, like, I was a hospital CEO when it was off. No.
You earned it.
I am so incredibly great. And I wouldn't have the ability to do what I've been doing the last year had I not put in the work that I put in. But it was in a conversation with a friend that I said, I missed years of my life.
You needed a pivot.
Like, I missed it.
Yeah.
I wasn't present at all because I was so focused on career and growth and what's the next step and how do I make the next move and get to the next thing and the next raise and the next that I missed my life.
Yeah.
And then that friend saying, yeah, Allie, but had you not done all of that, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting right now. And I went, oh my God, you're so right.
Absolutely.
You're so right. And then that mom telling me and she gave me a little thing, and I have it there right on my mirror at home, that says, underestimate me, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And it is the people that, maybe it's sick, right? That we get off on that. I don't know. That I'm like, yeah, underestimate me. But I'll tell you the piece about, and we just talked about it in another episode about the power of yes. But you saying in those moments, the easy way, I remember getting the call for the CEO position going,
right.
Me?
Right.
Like, what? I'll be the CNO. I'll be the CNO. I can be the chief nursing officer.
That, right.
I'm not. And I remember sitting there thinking about it. And lucky for me, Monica Vargas called. Sally Deitch had said, reach out. Brandon May was like, Allie's the one. She runs all this stuff. She'd be great at that. And so I ended up going for an interview. And I'm so grateful that I didn't have the time or the opportunity to say no.
Right.
It all happened so fast.
Yeah.
And I went, and then I got there and started looking around, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I belong here. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to find a way.
Right.
But I think so often, and more so women,
right.
if we don't check every single box.
How many women do that?
Then I'm not going to apply.
How many women do that? That they're like, and actually that was one of the questions I got yesterday is like, how do we as women, how do we help other women to not do that? Because I can't tell you, you know, when, and you know, as a leader, when you're trying to groom other people to rise up behind you, that you see talent and you can see the talent, right? And you meet with that person and you're like, great. So what's your plan to, you know, to move up, to take stretch assignments? And they're like, oh no, I'm fine. I only want to do this job. And you're like, what?
Yeah, but there's all this.
So when your new boss comes in and you hate them and you're going to be in my office complaining about them, you know,
you could be that boss.
You could have been that boss. What are you going to do? And they're, no, I just, you know, and that kills me. Like, why?
Yeah. Comfort.
Yeah.
Safe.
And at the same time, I've coached so many women that when they come to me, they're like, this is my plan. I'm going to get these 3 certificates. I'm going to go back and get 2 more master's degrees. And I'm like, why would you do that? And they're like, because I am deficient in these 3 things. And I'm like,
says who?
Pull the director job that you want and let me see where it says that you need 2 master's degrees, where you need Lean Six Sigma, where you need a project manager certificate. Let me see that. And they're like, oh no, it doesn't say that. And I'm like, what?
And how many times?
What are you doing?
Yeah. And how many times at our age have we worked for somebody that had all of those things and it was a freaking nightmare, and worked for somebody that had none of them,
right?
And learned more than I would have ever in a million years even asked to learn.
Oh man.
Yeah. I think, and I'll wrap it with this, and that is your answer, I think, nailed it, because I don't know very many that, if they're being honest, won't say, yeah, absolutely imposter syndrome. Yeah, absolutely. Moments of, and it's funny that you said it, because people have said, how did you get from the book to the podcast to the whatever? And what I said was, I met with Fernanda, who runs the marketing company I work with, I don't know, a little over a year ago. And I said, all I know is corporate America. I have an entrepreneur mind because I've always had little side hustles, right? But I only know corporate America. And so the idea of, like, I could stand in front of a boardroom and deliver a spiel and do what I need to do. But the idea of a podcast, the idea of like virtual content, like it was horrifying to me. It was, oh my God, it's still cringe. I can't watch it. But I told her, I said, but I have this dream that I want to accomplish, and I want to be on stages, and I want to be helping support other women. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to be real comfortable being real freaking uncomfortable. And so she would say, well, would you consider doing this, or would you consider? And I said, look, here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't ask me. Right. Because right now I'm in a growth mindset. And so I don't care how scared I am. I don't care how uncomfortable I am. I don't care how underqualified I think I might be. My answer is yes. And I'll figure out how. Yeah. And that's so, great. Yeah. And look where that has gotten you and continues to get you. Yeah. And so I think that's a fabulous message. Yeah. Awesome. Great. Girl, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We got it done. So now I've been on your podcast and you've been on mine. Yes. Yay. Ginger, thank you.
Thank you, Allie.
All right. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you got some little nuggets from our conversation. I am looking all the time for ideas for topics. So if you have one, please message us in. And on that note, we will see you in a week or so.